Well, happy Tuesday. It's Coffee Tuesday, Coffee Photoshop Tips Tuesday. I mean, every day is coffee day, as you guys probably know. But today's special because it's coffee day and I do some Photoshop tips and tricks to start out the day. So hope you guys are doing well today. Let me do a quick, make sure we got microphone, camera, everything's going. We see comments in there, so I think we are good to go. Grab your cup of coffee, share your chosen cup of coffee in the comments there if you choose. Mine is in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers championship mug, and I believe it's Dunkin' Donuts. It's not Dunkin' Donuts coffee, like actually from Dunkin' Donuts today. It's just that's the brand that we bought in the store. I actually love Dunkin' Donuts. I can't stand like Starbucks and all. It's too strong for me. So it's like, for me, I'm the kind of person, it's like I put a little bit of coffee in my cream and sugar is really the way coffee works for me. So I love Dunkin' Donuts. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, so here's what we're gonna do, guys. I got some Photoshop tips and tricks and things for you. Of course, this all relies to keep it going on your questions. So if nobody asks questions, we just end a lot sooner than I normally would end. So, but my name is Mac. Oh, I always love to do this. I forgot to do it. I was supposed to do it in the beginning because it's just fun. I don't know. Like I said, I said in another live thing, look at this. See that? See how it slides in and out? It's like, I don't know. The little things amuse me, and for some reason that amuses me because I'm not very technologically advanced with all this video live stuff. So anytime I can do something that looks cool, I consider it a win. I'm really good at photo editing and stills. Video, nothing. All right, we got Mountain Dew for caffeine from Teresa. Mike's got a Fidalgo coffee pour over. I don't even know what that means. We got some tea drinker. That's good. That's nothing wrong with tea. Got some donkeys after my first COVID shot this morning from John. Let's see, there's a couple of funny ones in here. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead here and dive in. Again, I'll do some Photoshop stuff. This all really depends on your comments and questions and different things along that to keep it going, but I will kick it off here. So let me switch over or share my screen with you. And so here's what we'll do in this first example is we'll do a little bit of a composite. Actually, before I do the composite, here's a public service announcement. So those of you that enjoy the new sky replacement feature in Photoshop, we come up here to the edit menu. We can go down here to sky replacement. This came out back in October, November. One of the things that it was limited to, and I'll go ahead and let me open up some other skies here. One of the things that was limited to, yes, I know it's not doing the reflection. If you have any questions on sky replacement, I'm going to put eventually I'll put it into the description, and I'll put a little info card that'll pop up on the top right of the screen. When you replay this, it won't pop up right now. If you got any questions, I did videos on all that stuff. I'm not going to rehash it all here. And I know I didn't do the reflection. I've also got a video on that. That said, one of the things you couldn't do is when you came to this little gear icon. Okay, and by the way, this little gear icon should show you everything you need to know about the sky replacement. You can create a group, which is a folder. You can create new presets, but you couldn't, when you went over here to import, you could only import one sky at a time, which was really annoying if you had like 50 skies because you had to do it 50 times. You can now, in this latest Photoshop update, which happened last week sometime, you can now import a whole bunch of skies at once. And you can even export your skies and transfer them over to another computer. So pretty easy there. It's all included right inside that little window. Again, if you got any questions, make sure you go look at those other videos because I did a lot of stuff on there. Okay, let's see here. So back to our story. So let's do a little composite here. So here's one of my compositing tricks is I will select all and copy this photo, and then I will move over to the background image and I'll paste it in. So one of my compositing tips is to get your photo into its background first. Okay, do that first, so that way as you're evaluating your selection, you actually know what it's going to look like. So now that it's over there, I'm going to go into free transform, edit, go down here to free transform. A lot of these things have keyboard shortcuts. Feel free to use them. I do. And then I'll go and just stretch this to the size of our photo here. Hit that little checkbox. Yes, I know this is a tall portrait-oriented photo, and this is a landscape photo. We'll take care of that at the end because I might want to put her in front of the mountain. I might want to put her in front of a different part of it, so we can figure that all out later on when we're done with it, and we'll do our cropping at the end. The way that I take care of, I start just about every composite or selection process is generally these days going to be to come to the select menu and just go to select subject. Okay, so select subject, and that'll put a general selection around the subject in your photo. It does a pretty good job as long as there's some contrast or depth of field in the photo. If there's not, then what you can do is always switch over here to your quick selection tool, right up there at the top. Switch over to the quick selection tool, and then you can add. So you can it's basically just a brush. And so you just go brush onto parts of the photo to add different areas inside of there. Okay, so it does a pretty good job of that. It's never going to be perfect. We're always going to have to refine. Select subject is good at getting us close, but you're always going to have to adjust it a little bit. Okay, so once I'm done with that, then I come up here to the select and mask button up there at the top. And I'm going to see that because I have a selection tool, certain selection tools enabled over here. Like when I have the quick selection tool chosen, you'll see select and mask. There are times where you might not see it, so you can just come up to the select menu and always go down here to select and mask. So we'll pop open that little window here. Now yours might look a little bit different from mine, and here's the difference. When you go under the view option up there at the top right, you get on white, you can do it on black, you can do it on an overlay, you can do it on different views of your image. Because I put my subject over the background right in the beginning, I can come down here and choose on layers. And so that's going to simulate exactly what my selection is going to look like over the layer that I have. So that way I'm not doing work over, if it was a black background or a white background, you never know what you're going to have to do. So this way I know exactly what my selection is going to look like when I'm done, and I can refine it based on that. I'm not refining it basically blind, if you would. So this one works pretty good. And the rule with compositing, if you're going to replace somebody's background, you'd better have some contrast in their background. Okay, it's got to either be depth of field, or it's got to be color contrast of some sort where they're bright and the background's dark, or whatever it happens to be. There's got to be contrast. There's not a selection tool out there, and I think Photoshop is really the best selection tool that's out there. But there's no selection tools. If you've got somebody with black hair against a black background, you're not going to get a selection from it. So part of it is setting yourself up for success right from the get-go. But this was not a studio photo. It was not one I planned on compositing, so it was taken outdoors, as you saw. From here, what we'll do is over on the left-hand side, the way that I refine this is there's a little brush over here on the left called the Refine Edge Brush. All right, kind of looks like a little claw with a brush next to it. And I'll do Command or Control plus to zoom in. And so the way that you refine this is basically you just take that Refine Edge brush and you just go and you paint right along some edges. You could see it grabbed a couple of extra pieces of hair. There's also a Refine Hair button up here at the top, and it's worth giving a click. I'll actually click it now and we can see. So that was after. That's before. I think I like it after better, so we'll go ahead and we'll click Refine Hair. So it does a nice job of refining the edges of the hair. And then as we go look around here, a couple other things, I'll just take that Refine Edge brush and just swipe down the side. And then see how she's still got some of that green background through her sleeve? Let's go ahead and see how we can paint and see through it. So that's worth playing around with a little bit. And then over here, her shoulder is a little bit transparent. So let's go and paint on it and see what we can do. So right now I'm in add mode. All right, I'm going to switch it over to restore the original, which is subtract. The little minus button up here. Hit the left bracket key, make my brush really small. And just see what we get. We might not get a good, yeah, that's actually pretty good. See how it restored that area back in. Same thing in her hair up here. It's semi-transparent. So it's still doing its refining thing, right? But it's restoring rather than trying to take away. So I think that looks pretty good. I'll try to restore a little bit up there, a little bit there. Okay. So when we back out a little bit, I think that's looking pretty darn good. And we'll go ahead, we'll click OK. And what that's going to do is leave us with a selection around our subject. And all we have to do from here is hit the add layer mask icon down here at the bottom. Right at the bottom of the layers palette panel, just add a layer mask to it. And then you can see it takes away the background. I can zoom in, I can refine this a little bit, like there's a little bit of a streak of hair here. It's a layer mask, so we brush on black or we brush on white. So in this case, I'm just going to add a little bit of black to that area. And not so much there, but you get the idea. But you can paint with black and white on the layer mask there. I can even go down here to her sleeve and maybe take a lower flow or opacity setting. And I can go down there, and yeah, I don't want to go too far because you can see it's starting to, might even go a little bit lower. Ah, there we go. So a little bit lower down there and just paint on that sleeve. Okay. Then we go over here, we can take that layer and we can move it around. So we can move her wherever we want. I actually think that's a pretty good place for her. Of course, we can hit C for the crop tool and crop this in to get rid of the other stuff, like so. And then the last thing we'd want to do here is she's got a very warm temperature, color temperature. To me, it looks warmish. To me, my background looks very neutral-ish, cool. So it's got a cooler type of a temperature. So one of the things that I'll do is go click on the background layer, and we can go up here to the adjustments panel and go down to something like photo filter. All right, so you go to your adjustments panel, you go to the one with a little camera icon with a little filter on it in there. So we go over in here to photo filter, and it usually automatically adds a warming filter, and you can, you know, drag the density up to make it warmer. I wouldn't necessarily go that high, but this will give a little bit of warmth to that background. That was before. Probably be a little bit hard to see, but it makes a difference in the overall image, the impact of the image. That's after. So before and after is a good way to go in there and just, again, change the temperature of the background. If your background was too warm, you could go up here and you could choose one of the cooling filters. And there's no rule to which one you choose. You just have to click through them and see which one looks good on your photo there. But that's a good way to, again, get your background to match the subject a little bit more there. Okay, so turn that off and back on. You can see nice and easy to pop her in. Reasons why that worked. Number one, it was outdoors. You can see the lighting. If you look at the mountains, the lighting's coming from the left. The sun's coming from the left on her. So she had a good, pretty decent amount of backlight on there, good, decent amount of hair and contrast between the backgrounds. So they all worked pretty good to give us a good, successful selection. Let's see here. All right, let's go take a quick look at some of your questions. Oh, before we take a quick look at some of your questions, I always do this in my videos. Number one, cheers to morning coffee. Number two, if you guys would do me a big favor, so you're on YouTube right now, if you've got friends or anything, if you've got any kind of friends that are into photography, I would greatly appreciate this if you would share it with them. That'll help me get the word out. So right now we got about 100 people watching live. There are many, many more than 100 people on YouTube. So I would appreciate it if you could just share it with anybody that you think is into photography. All right, let's go back over to our screen here. Got some questions going on. Let's see. Why don't you get some big lens background. That's from PhotoPod Adventures. I don't know what some big lens background is, so you have to fill me in on that one. Somebody else said, would you bokeh out the background a little bit, blur out the background? You could. You definitely could. In this case, you know, if it were, depends, if you were taken with an iPhone, you'd never know. But yeah, you could go down here to your background layer and you can go filter. You can go down there to blur gallery. A couple of different blurs in here. Nice easy one is filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And you can blur out that background. I actually kind of like it, so it was a good idea. This is all taken from my, this is a project taken from my Photoshop system course. So if you are interested in learning more about Photoshop, this is a project taken from the course. I actually think I did that in the project. I forget, I did it a while ago, but yeah, I actually like that better. So yeah, you could blur the background a little bit. Let's see here. We got a cheer for group imports of sky. Yeah, was that one was a nice little feature. Roy says smart objects, when's the best time to use it? Roy, smart objects are a good way for working non-destructive. I'm not a big non-destructive proponent in Photoshop, so it's not necessarily part of my workflow. But you know, there are lots of different times you can use smart objects. There's none that are right or wrong. It's just your chosen your chosen way of editing inside there. So you won't find me using them too much. Let's see here. Where is the photo filters? From Harold. So you go to your adjustments panel. If you don't see that, you would go up here to your window menu, go down to adjustments, go to your adjustments panel, and you click on the photo filter icon. Can you tone down the highlights on her a bit? I could. I don't know that I want to. I actually kind of like that nice bright highlight over there, but you could take her layer. And you could, a quick easy way would just be to pop her into camera raw filter and tone down the highlights inside there. Oh, somebody said, I see the big lens behind you. Okay, gotcha. I'll talk about that in just a second there. Presume the warming filters won't work similarly in mono composites. I mean, warming filters is going to make it yellow or blue. So mono, I guess you're talking about black and white. So I don't know if you'd want to make it yellow or blue. All right, looks like we got some questions there. Here, I want to show you guys a fun video. So here, let's go, Matt. Oh gosh, come back. I want to talk about big lens stuff. If you're into wildlife photography, you have to check this out. Even if you're not a Sony shooter. So if you go to mattkay.com/blog and you go click on the one that has the wow with the little green thing around it. I got to show you guys this. So where'd it go? It's somewhere. You have to watch. This is just showing you what bird eye autofocus is capable of. And it's pretty cool to see. And again, I know you might not be a Sony shooter. I think Canon has a camera with it in it as well. But it's just kind of cool to see where technology's going. So like when you watch this little bird moving around and you watch that little thing following it around and following the eye around, it's pretty crazy. So again, I know not everybody has these cameras that do that, but it's got to tip its hat to the future its hand to the future of where this stuff could be going. And you have to assume other cameras are going to be getting that as well. So just go check that out. It talks a little bit about the lenses and stuff that I use inside of there. Let's see here. It looks like we got smart objects. Alan says, we see an array of hard drives behind you. I wonder if you can explain your system for archiving and backing up your photos. I can very, very quickly explain that, Alan. So these are the hard drives. If you go to mattkay.com, if you ever want to see any gear that I use, go to mattkay.com, click on gear, and that'll take you to the brand of the hard drives. I have a very simple process. Two of these hard drives, one of them is for photos, one of them is for video courses. So here, I'm going to see if I can back out a little bit here and I'll show you. All right, there we go. So one of these is for photography. One of these is for courses and videos that I do for my job. So photography is not really my job, but although I do teach with my photos, but I don't actually sell anything. And these are just clones, backups of these. So I just do folders. I put everything into a descriptively named folder, drop it in here. If it's a video course or something I'm working on, I drop it in here. These are clones of those. I use a program called Super Duper, which I don't know if it's been updated for the new version of Mac yet, but there are other cloner programs out there. And then I also use Backblaze. So Backblaze is a cloud backup service, but any hard drives you have connected to your computer also get backed up to those. So my Backblaze backs up not only my computer, but it also backs up these hard drives as well. And they're big. I mean, they're like 8 terabytes each. So the first time that I did Backblaze, it literally took, I think probably took every bit of 4 weeks before everything was fully backed up on there. But I don't have a very complicated backup system. A lot of people ask me about like NAS. I don't even know how to spell it. So, it's a joke. Anyway, let's see here. John says, yeah, the Canon R5 Atom-Y focus says Voodoo Magic. Yeah, both these cameras are excellent. Old Nap member, curious how you would match a studio shot onto that background. Bob, I probably wouldn't, but I mean, it just would all depend on how you would light the studio shot. If you lit the studio shot to look like outdoor, or you were backlighting it and everything, I guess perhaps you could, but if you're doing composites, you should really know ahead of time where your photo is going to end up. PhotoPod says, why not use a RAID backup system? I just don't understand RAID, and I'm the least techie person you'll find out there. So what I know is if I put it onto this drive and I back it up onto this drive and I back it up to the cloud, I know I'm good. So, and I know RAID's fine and I know it works for everybody. I just don't personally understand it, nor do I care to get into tech any more than I already am. Let's see. Jeremy says, what's your favorite way to begin selections with all the tools available now? So I mentioned it in the beginning of this tutorial, Jeremy, which is go up to the select menu, go to select subject. I then follow it up with the quick selection tool. So select subject usually gets me most of the way there. The quick selection tool lets me add or subtract areas from that. And then I jump into that select and mask window where I'm able to refine it a little bit. Let's see here. We got that one. All right. I think we got all those questions going in there. So, all right. Yeah, I think I got all of them on there. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. So if you, I do these little live sessions usually once per week. And then I usually release a full tutorial as well. So if you ever want to know what times I'm doing things, best thing you can do, head over to mattkay.com. Up in the little menu up there is a little events link. You can click on that events link. It'll take you to a calendar where, at some point during the week, I will update with whatever my dates and times are for the next week. So you can always jump on there and find out what's going on. All right. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your coffee.